8:08 now. How will the world AC after corona be different? Will we trust experts or our governments more? Will we look at our fellow citizens fearful they may carry disease? Will our leaders collaborate more or put up barriers? The historian and author Yuval Noah Harari, chronicler of many aspects of mankind in books including Sapiens, has been thinking about the impact of this crisis and is on the line now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yuval, can we start with how you see this crisis, first of all? Is it to you akin to a natural disaster, something entirely unforeseeable?
Well, it is a natural disaster, but the nature of natural disasters have changed in the modern era. They are increasingly under human control. In the Middle Ages, when an epidemic hit, nobody knew why people were dying and what could be done about it. But today, it took just 2 weeks to identify the new coronavirus, sequence its entire genome, and develop reliable tests. So it's now fully under our control in the sense that we can stop this. We have the knowledge, we have the technology. It's just a political question of where we put our resources.
But there are also long-term consequences from how we choose to stop it. In the piece you wrote in the Financial Times, you said many short-term emergency measures will become a fixture of life. Which ones were you thinking of?
The two most important choices we face are one on the national level, whether we turn to totalitarian surveillance or whether we turn to empowering citizens in order to stop this, and on the global level, whether it will lead to nationalist isolationism or to greater global solidarity. And what should be emphasized is that this is not predetermined. This is a choice, really a political choice. It's not that there is just one way to deal with this epidemic. We have a choice, and what we choose will change the world for years, maybe decades to come.
And on the second point, the global level, how we behave with other countries, can we not already see that countries are dealing with this individually? There's very little global collaboration or cooperation in the measures that there are similar measures happening in different countries, but they aren't coordinated.
Yeah, and that's the lack of leadership and coordination is really appalling. I mean, there is some cooperation on the level of information, at least. That's important. Our big advantage as humans over viruses is that viruses cannot cooperate between countries. A virus in China can't give advice to a virus in the UK, but humans can inform and help each other, and we should see more of that. But we should also see cooperation in the production and distribution of medical equipment. Currently, countries are competing against each other, and the distribution is therefore unfair. I would hope that we'll have a global coordinated effort, not just to produce equipment more efficiently, but especially to distribute it fairly. We also need an agreement. We also need collaboration on the economic front, especially when this epidemic hits the developing world. You know, the U.S. can have a rescue package of $2 trillion, but Mexico or Colombia or Bangladesh can't. So unless we have a global economic plan, the result could be the complete collapse of some countries.
And the first choice you said we had was between a totalitarian approach to this, a sort of surveillance state approach, and citizen empowerment. I mean, surveillance may well be a big part of how we come out of this if apps, similar to what has been introduced in China are introduced. I mean, there's going to be an NHS app in this country in the coming weeks. Is that a kind of surveillance that you are comfortable with? One that helps us get out of the epidemic?
I'm not against surveillance per se. I mean, it's important to use these new technologies to help us defeat the epidemic. The question is whether the surveillance empowers a single all-powerful government or a wider range of organizations and citizens. I mean, who controls all the information? Is it the police or is it an independent health agency? And surveillance can always go both ways. At the same time that we increase surveillance of citizen movements, at the same time we also should increase surveillance of, say, government expenditure. I mean, governments are now spending money like water, hundreds of billions of dollars and sterling and euros, and we need to have a very close watch who gets what. So I am in favor of surveillance as long as it goes both ways and doesn't result in an authoritarian regime like we see happening now in Hungary and in other countries around the world.
Yuval Noah Harari, thank you very much.